Victoria, a passenger ferry from Stranraer, is adrift on stormy seas during the Great Storm of 1953. Following the SOS she sent out, the lifeboat from Portpatrick, the Jeannie Spears, had gone to get her given location, only to find empty seas. Was the Princess Victoria already lost? No, because just as the Jeannie Spears was reporting that she hadn't found the stricken ship, the crew on the Princess Victoria sighted the Copeland Isles, just off the coast of Northern Ireland. She had been blown far off course by the hurricane-force winds travelling over the Irish Sea. Realising that they were much farther from help than expected, Captain Ferguson made the painful decision to abandon ship. Even before the devastating news came up from the engine room, the ship's engines had been flooded and had stalled. In the radio room, as the crew were making preparations to abandon the ship, David Broadfoot was tapping out one final message in Morse code, a job made much more difficult now because he is clinging to his desk and seat to stay in them because of the steepness of the ship's list. Later, his body will be found floating in the sea, clutching a Christmas card from family, and then his wife and son will be presented with a posthumous Victoria Cross for him because of his dedication to duty. On the deck, crew and passengers are having to use ropes to crawl and climb their way to the lifeboats, which are now too high above the water to launch. The plan is to sit in them and wait until the ship goes down. Then, in one of the worst twists of the entire tragedy, one of the lifeboats, packed with all of the women and children on board, slips its moorings as it's being freed. The ship lifted it up, then brought it down again against the hull of the sinking ship. The lifeboat was smashed to pieces and everyone on board was lost. Then the Princess Victoria herself slipped beneath the waves, taking Captain Ferguson, David Broadfoot and all those left on board with her. All that was left were the remaining lifeboats, one of which was adrift without oars, and people in life jackets or floating on makeshift rafts above a sea deep and dangerous enough to swallow a passenger ferry whole. So, when the Orky arrived first at the scene, all that was left were straggling survivors battling the wind and waves. And since the Orky was too high-sided and empty of cargo, so was too light in the water to be safe around people on the surface of it, all it could do was radio its position and watch as people began to lose the strength to keep themselves afloat. That must have been utterly heartbreaking. Then, finally, the cavalry began to arrive. A ship called the Eastcoats filled its decks with survivors. The Pass of Dromochter, also too high-sided to pick people up from the sea, threw a line to the drifting lifeboat to keep it safe until more help arrived, which quickly came with the arrival of the Jeannie Spears, the Sir Samuel Kelly and the HMS Contest. The Sir Samuel Kelly pulled alongside the Pass of Dromochter and helped the folk on to the lifeboat. On the Contest, one of the crew threw themselves into the water to rescue people and bring them back on board. And the Jeannie Spears nimbly picked its way through the debris and filled up with those people who were still strewn across the sea. All in all, 134 people, including David Broadfoot and Captain Ferguson, died in the sinking of the Princess Victoria. Only 44 men survived, the women and children all having been in that one lifeboat. It was the worst peacetime loss of life in British waters and the worst such sinking until the tragic loss of the Herald of Free Enterprise in 1987.